Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Up Your Alley. It's a podcast with two best friends. It's me. My name is Taylor Egger. With me, as always, is my best friend, Jake Baggett. Say hi, Jake.
Hey, buddy.
I messed that up a little bit, but we're just going to roll
I
with
was
it.
wondering if we're going to bring it up.
No, we're just going to power through. We're going to acknowledge it. We're going to say that. And we're also going to say, everyone be sure to follow us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, or if you're liking us on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. And follow us on Spotify. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers on Spotify.
Ooh.
That's the main metric I'm going for.
Yeah, let's do 1,000.
And I've had two people come up to me and say, I listen on Spotify just because you told me to. And I'm like, that's the point. That's the point of the call to action.
We're still one person away. You could be that one person.
Yes, we're more than one person away.
Follow. No, we're just one person.
No,
exactly.
because
we're at 999. We need you specifically, the one listening.
Ideally, we'd want more than 1,000.
No, I want exactly 1,000.
That's
so
it?
once we hit 1,000, people start taking an eye on it. If you see it go 1,001, go ahead and unfollow us.
Yeah.
If you see it fall down, go ahead and follow us
You
again.
want this podcast to be like an exclusive nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be on the list. But the thing is, you put yourself on and you take yourself off the list.
Although as many people can listen to it on Apple and YouTube as they want.
Yes.
That's fine.
I do not follow those metrics.
So we're talking about this week, Jake's recommendation for me, the 1985 Canadian independent art film, I'm going to say. Crime Wave. And also my recommendation for Jake, the Netflix original 2023 film, The Killer, starring Michael Fassbender. But before we get into that, we're going to just get into some nonsense. Jake, this will be coming out on Black Friday, so I'm assuming you had a good Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm definitely going to have a good Thanksgiving. You know what we do now? We deep fry the turkeys.
See, I've never done it.
It is worth it. No wonder people burn down their houses.
It's worth
it is worth risking your whole house for this delicious bird.
So you're doing it outside?
Yeah, we do it outside.
Okay.
And I watch it like a hawk.
You have to.
Yeah, because I'm like, if that thing tips over, that's just napalm.
Turkey's already
everywhere.
thawed, right?
Yeah, you thaw out that bad boy.
You got to be thawed days in advance.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I spend at least one day a week cleaning out deep fryers.
Right.
And, you know, they're fickle when they're commercial. Yeah. When it's not just a pot in someone's yard with a butane torch underneath.
With just a fire and a pot and some oil.
Yeah?
Yeah. And a nice little turkey hook.
We're actually having 2 turkeys this year. My brother has the idea that he's ordering a Popeyes Cajun fried turkey.
He's got the idea?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like,
he's ordering a Cajun fried turkey from Popeyes.
Because he wants that?
Yes. So we're doing that.
Okay.
And then we've got another recipe floating around the family for something that Martha Stewart put out this year.
Family recipe from Martha Stewart.
Well, I tried to explain that these recipes are floating. It's like, oh, it's a new way Martha Stewart's cooking her turkey. And it's like, well, that's because Martha Stewart's been doing this for 40 years. Yeah. And to get engagement on all of her websites, she needs to say, oh, this is my new way for cooking turkeys. There's a good way to cook turkeys. It's put it in the oven until it's done.
Yeah, they have a little thing called a turkey timer.
You don't need that. I've got a probe thermometer.
I mean, I'm just saying, you don't even need a probe thermometer.
Though
you can buy a 15-cent turkey timer. Watch that little thing go pop.
Or a lot of turkeys have them in it.
Yeah, that's true.
The only thing I do recommend that I've picked up for cooking turkeys is probably my favorite chef that I've followed, like a TV chef, famous chef guy, is Alton Brown of Good Eats fame.
Yeah.
And his thing, so the dark meat cooks at the same time as the white meat. Just fold a little triangle of tinfoil and kind of wedge it over the turkey breasts. So it's like almost like a turkey swimsuit, so they don't get too burnt and dry out while the dark meat's still cooking.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's a good idea.
Shield a little bit of the heat away from it.
Exactly.
Oh, I
see.
see.
It's one of those things that people would have in movies in the 80s where it's like you hold like poster board wrapped in aluminum foil under your face while you're getting a suntan.
A nicer tan.
I've never seen someone use one of those in real life.
No, they don't.
It's always been in cartoons.
Yeah, it's shorthand for vanity. That's all it was.
Is that what it is?
It has
it's
to
just
be
like,
it.
oh, this is the cool girl at the beach summer camp or whatever.
Chuck Avery must have seen it one
time.
And he was like, oh my God, what a vain person. Yeah. we are going to watch Pepe Le Pew attack a woman doing that.
Have you seen any Black Friday sales that you're scoping out?
Honestly, other than weird movies, you know, I follow Vinegar Syndrome.
I have no idea what that is.
They take old reels of really weird movies and restore them in 4K, and they have a Black Friday sale.
That's pretty cool.
I get really, really weird movies from them.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is it on physical media like a disc?
Exactly. Uh-huh.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Anything in particular that I'm going to have to watch, I reckon?
It might happen. It
Yeah.
could happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. My only plan for the weekend is we were just talking about this beforehand. I want to go see Napoleon,
Yes.
which I know you have zero interest.
I just don't know. I mean, history.
It's a giant historical epic, which is not one of your things.
Joaquin Phoenix.
It's great. And Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott is now hit or miss for me.
Really?
Yes. I didn't like Alien Covenant.
Which one was Alien Covenant?
The last of the new Alien movies. After
Is that with two Michael
Prometheus.
Fassbenders?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael Fassbender was fantastic in that movie.
Yeah.
My thing is, there's a kissing scene between Michael Fassbender and Michael Fassbender, and my theory is...
You know who probably loved that?
My theory
Michael
is...
Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender took it upon himself to kiss Michael Fassbender, but Michael Fassbender is such a good actor that he went with it, creating that beautiful scene.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about Michael Fassbender today. I don't know. What's the last thing that he did? Was it just that?
I don't know. I
Did
can't
he
tell
do
you.
the new Blade Runner?
No.
Blade Runner 20? No, that was Luc.
Ryan Gosling.
No, Luc Besson directed that, I believe.
No. That was Denis Villeneuve.
No, I'm talking about Ridley Scott.
No, he didn't direct the new Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
Denis.
I knew it was a Frenchish name.
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve.
House of Gucci, I did not see.
Not going to watch that.
Last Duel, I did not see either. That's an Affleck one. That's probably going to pop up in all Affleck April coming up.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
you haven't seen it yet. I'm turning around on Affleck, buddy.
Are you?
I'm just seeing more and more little news snippets of him being
Yeah.
very cool, being very light, being very even keeled,
Yes.
and smart and learned, more so than I've seen actors really be.
Can I tell you when Ben Affleck is the most relaxed and learned?
What?
It's when he lets the Boston accent fly.
Yeah,
Like
when
you
he's
can tell
upset.
sometimes that he's like doing the fake Hollywood voice,
Yeah,
and because
sure.
he does it. Who else is from that region? Chris Evans does it as well. John Krasinski does it. They have this like buttoned up, plain American Hollywood
Yeah.
voice.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they're very comfortable, very relaxed, it slips out. Like I have a habit of doing it. Like I'll slip into Southern a little bit when I'm
Yeah.
just like, chit chatting, having fun.
When I'm around other Southern
Yes.
accents.
But there was a thing about Affleck that was floating around. It just popped back up. I know it's from a couple years ago, but it's one of those clips that just like cycles in Reddit every now and again, and it's of people lined up to take pictures with him while he's smoking a cigarette, and he's just like exhausted, like takes a
Yeah.
drag of the cigarette and then puts it behind, just smiles and takes the picture. And
Yeah.
does it. It's like so goddamn.
The more
likable.
I see stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that dude's. He's like man fame.
He doesn't seem like
I'm getting around on him.
Ridley Scott directed Hannibal.
That's coming out, isn't it?
No, Hannibal 2001. He directed that.
Oh, the actual
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter Hannibal.
Yeah, Hannibal.
Oh no, I know there's a Hannibal
Oh, you're
movie
thinking
coming out.
Hannibal Barca.
Yeah, there's a movie of him coming out.
Elephants Across the Alps.
Didn't he throw a head?
I think a lot of people back then threw heads.
I think one of his thing was he was sieging a.
Oh yeah. They would use diseased corpses and throw them back into the city.
That was him, right?
That was most people.
Oh really? God,
That was-
darn it! I thought I knew a fact about Hannibal.
No.
I don't think I do anymore.
The siege warfare of that aspect was kind of the people from Africa, like Hannibal. He's from Carthage. They were better at it than the Europeans were, because the Romans kind of did the whole thing. It's like, we'll meet you on the battlefield. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, we don't fucking have to. We're just gonna throw diseased body parts at you.
Eat carcass.
I've been listening. Okay,
History is so fucked up.
So one thing that we talked about is Spotify. You're back on Spotify now. You had your brief
Yeah.
stint with YouTube Music.
Yes.
Back on Spotify.
Yes.
Since we're big fans of Spotify on this podcast, and I think in their algorithm, if we say Spotify enough times,
Maybe their ears will prick up like a sleeping dog.
so for no reason whatsoever, how happy are you with Spotify over YouTube Music?
I just prefer it just because it's hassle free.
Ease of use.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I want to find a song that I want to listen to, I don't have to find a specific version. It's just like, here's your album that you were looking for. Here's that song.
Perfect.
Have you? YouTube is like, you wanted the live extended version. I'm like, no, nobody does.
Nobody ever wants
Nobody
that.
does. It did show me Curtis Mayfield extended versions of songs.
That's nice.
And I was like, this is incredible. Like, Spotify is missing out on this part. So there are some things that were nicer, but just having Spotify using it was so much easier.
I've been getting into. There's a whole bunch of free audiobooks on it now. which is just so great because I love all the podcasts that I listen to, but sometimes it's just like, you know, especially with some of the comedians that I listen to, I'm like, I can kind of skip this episode. Like, it's not really something that I need to listen to. Just popping in audiobooks. They have Anthony Bourdain reading Kitchen Confidential.
Oh, cool.
Which Kitchen Confidential, one of my favorite books.
Yeah, sure.
And him reading it, so good.
Yeah.
They also have all the Tolkien read by Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
So all the Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, and The Hobbit.
Have you gone over? I heard that you get 15 hours a month.
I haven't reached that threshold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening to Garth Marenghi's Terror Tome.
Yeah.
Garth Marenghi reading his own book, and it's great because he goes, introduction. No, I'm not going to read that.
Yeah, that's it. That's in my queue to listen to. I've been doing that, and there's another guy. It's pretty popular. Ryan Holiday, who's like he writes about stoicism and stuff like that. Pretty fun.
Oh.
Just good, like almost mantra-ish stuff where he's just like, "Hey, stop fucking around." Like not as bad as like Jordan Peterson, where it's just like all this stuff's your problem. It's just like no, everything's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Just calm down and do your work.
Exploring that stuff is fun, but being sure of it, like presenting the argument, makes me feel more welcoming to it. Like I can't even remember what book that I'm reading, but there's not even reading, it's on audiobook, but it's about empathy and how it's actually bad to have it. Like they're like, I know I'm having an uphill argument, especially for me. I'm a very empathetic guy.
You are.
But it's a really fun thing to listen to because he's like, I want to define empathy as well as I can and compare it to compassion and tell you why compassion is something that you should have instead of empathy.
They are different things.
Yes. He's like, empathy is something that controls you too much, where compassion is something that you can feel for others that do deserve it, where empathy is something that you can't really control unless you can actually see it and start to develop it away from just having compassion, empathy towards anybody.
That's kind of cool.
You know? Yeah, it's a fun little listen.
Yeah.
I disagree a lot, but I like it when you bring it up as a discussion.
I think it's very important to listen and read things that you disagree with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love being challenged.
Things I don't disagree with. They have the book. I think it's called "The Hepatitis Bathtub and Other Stories from the Road," which is
sounds like
road history of the band NoFX.
Oh,
and it's written and read by Fat Mike.
Whoa!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's pretty great. NoFX, they just announced their dates for their alleged last tour.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
Closest to us is New York. It's kind of a bummer.
I'm not going to New York for NoFX.
I mean, if I was going to travel for NoFX, they have 3 days, which are their last shows in Los Angeles. And I'm like, if I'm buying a plane ticket to go see NoFX on their final tour, I'd rather go to the LA shows than the New York shows.
Right.
But yeah, where's the DC date, Fat Mike? I hope someone at Spotify talks to Fat Mike. I do love NoFX, though. I haven't been to a good punk show.
They have a strong place in my heart. Yeah.
Have to.
Punk rock helped us grow. So
I was listening to Fat Mike, and then I was listening to NoFX, and then I was Googling cheap bass guitars because I used to have a bass guitar.
Yeah, I remember.
And just listen to that. I was just like, man, I could get a bass guitar back in the rotation. Just sit back.
Gonna go play punk rock music again.
Yeah. Just as an old punk.
We're a little old.
Fat Mike's like 56 years old.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're doing it for us.
All right. I would love to see NoFX. I'd love more to see Me First and the Gimme Gimmes on tour. Like if
I listen to them much more.
I hope Fat Mike is stopping
I saw
touring
Me First and Gimmes.
Where?
At Warped Tour. Way back when.
Way back. That must have been early, like 2003?
Yeah.
Ish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was probably in high school. Yeah, 2003.
Made up of Fat Mike and most of Lagwagon.
Yeah.
I think.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's like most of Lagwagon, Fat Mike, and I want to say the guitarist for Foo Fighters was in Me First and the Gimme Gimmes at some point.
I don't know.
I don't know. They're freaking great, though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to listen to them again.
Yeah. They're all available on Spotify. All right. Anything else you got going on?
Not really, buddy.
Any more?
Everything's groovy gravy.
I will say something that we talked about last week with the Game Awards and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was just Googling Game Awards stuff, so it's been all in my algorithm.
Yeah.
People there is a small but vocal contingent that is very upset. And I don't want to say all these people are just Xbox fanboys, but they seem like they're all Xbox fanboys.
You're going to bring up Starfield?
That a remake got in. We talked about this. We thought Resident Evil 4 was the first remake to be nominated. It was.
Yeah.
First of all, in the 10-year history of the Game Awards, I didn't know there were people that take it this seriously, but I guess there are people that take everything seriously.
People
That's why
really
things
care
are there.
about the Grammys. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. And did you see that lady that got yelled at by the flight attendant for singing?
No.
It's just some lady. It was just, I don't know, it popped up on Reddit. So she got nominated for a Grammy, and she was allegedly like a background in the chorus of a gospel album. Like, it wasn't her album, but she was
But
artist.
she got a Grammy.
Right, so she got a Grammy nomination, and she makes a big announcement on the plane. And then she starts singing.
Yeah.
Which, listen, great. I'm glad you got nominated, and I'm glad you got, you were in the background for best vocal gospel album or whatever it was.
Sure.
But
you just go, I want a Grammy!
You're
And then you
singing
sit down
on a plane.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and then the flight attendant
That's
just comes over and
basically-
just like, stop.
Yeah. That's
Just
basically
stop.
taking hostages.
It's not far off.
It's like, you got nowhere to go. No one can save you.
It's a real Rorschach.
Like a brick.
It's a real Rorschach in jail moment where he's like, you're locked in here with me. I'm going to sing about the Lord really loudly.
That's crazy.
There's so many people that, like, half of Reddit is just people getting angry on planes.
Yeah.
To the point where when I flew down to Florida last August, I was like, oh, airlines are going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Nah, it's fine.
No, airplanes are great.
Yeah.
I read it when last time I rode an airplane from San Francisco to DC. A long plane
Direct
ride.
flight?
It was a connector from Los Angeles. Los
Oh.
Angeles, San Francisco, San Francisco.
Still, it's about a 6-hour ride?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And there was a lady that was sitting next to me. It was just me and her, empty seat in between. And she said hello, and I said hello. We didn't talk for 6 hours. We
Yeah.
get up. She says, thank you. And I said, thank you. And then we just
Thank
left.
you for not talking.
Yeah, and we were like, yeah, thank you.
I'm glad we didn't have to have this
It was like,
conversation.
this was a great ride, wasn't it?
It's so good. There should be like, I don't know, but that it should be a quiet car. Have you ever been on the Amtrak?
A quiet car. A plane train. I would love that.
Well, have you ever been on Amtrak?
No,
They
I'd
have-
love to go on a train.
They have quiet cars. If people in this country had more money that could pay more for a quiet entire plane ride, I guess that's just a private jet, really. I think I
Yeah.
just discovered private
Yeah.
jets.
Good job, bud.
I just backwards engineered them. I do that sometimes
it.
where I come up with a great idea to solve something that already exists.
Oh my God, buddy.
Like, there was like 6 years ago, I was making have I told you a story about cupcakes with my kid?
No.
When she was little, she was like, oh God, she was like 4 or 5. We were making cupcakes, and I was like, such a pain in the ass to like pour the batter into every little thing and then ice every little thing. I'm like, wouldn't it be a whole lot easier just to make one big cupcake and then you don't like have to ice it? And I told someone about that, and they said, that's a cake. And I was like, oh, right. I was so proud of myself for
Why
a
can't
little
I
bit.
just make a cake in a pan? I would love to just have a cake from a pan.
Another random Reddit thing.
Dude, you've been on Reddit, huh?
Dude, I found every now and again I find a new subreddit that I love.
Oh my God.
A couple weeks ago, it was r/decks, where it was just guys talking about different decks and just really shittily.
Oh no, I
like,
saw a couple of them where people were like, I don't understand these pieces of wood connected to the wall.
Yeah.
And then just a torrent of
Yeah.
comments being like, yeah, those things aren't supporting anything. I don't understand why those are there.
Yeah. And
that is a bunch of dads.
yeah, the best are like really catty, where someone will like just post a picture. He's like, "Can you believe this piece of shit my brother-in-law put up?" But my favorite one now is it's a what is this cookie cutter? So everyone getting all their
That sounds
holidays.
fun.
Everyone's getting all their holiday stuff out now.
Yeah.
So like down here we have Thanksgiving cookie cutters, Halloween, Christmas. They're all like that, but they're all just the blank outline, the
Yeah.
silhouette, the shape. And it's just people posting and be like, what the hell is
Yeah,
this?
what
what
do
is
I
this
make?
supposed to be? And it's geniuses in Photoshop underneath that fill it in. Usually profane.
That's hilarious.
There's a weird amount of ducks where everyone like just thinks it's a duck, but
Yeah.
it's weirdly shaped, so it's like a duck holding a deer.
They shove a duck inside of it somehow.
Yeah, somehow there's a duck put in it. It seems to be a running meme. But yeah, that's my subreddit. That'd be a fun thing. Recommended subreddit of the week. This week it's what is this cookie cutter? Or decks.
decks. Just decks in general. That's what I'm in for.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need a project for your house, build a deck. You will realize how much there is to learn.
Yeah.
And how much work it is.
It's a pain in the ass.
And then you'll be like, I will not build this deck.
when I was in high school or middle school, my uncle put up a deck, and it was the height of deck technology at the point where the screws were from the bottom, so you didn't have there were no screws at the top, so it was just smooth wood on the top.
Like wood.
But this also meant having to screw upwards for an extended period of time in the summer, which is fun for all of 3 minutes before you're just like, this sucks. It's hot, and I'm reaching upwards constantly.
I'm getting sawdust all over me.
I would have taken a picture of that and put it on our decks and be like, look, my uncle thinks this is necessary. It's really unnecessary to do this. Aesthetically, you can use a router and make sure the screws are flush if you know what you're doing. I love late night
look at
podcasts.
where you're going to it. Yeah.
I love a late night podcast. Let's get into some real stuff. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in the world and is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, and that's important because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially if you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with your therapist, and there's a link in our description. It's betterhelp.com/alley. That's betterhelp.com/alley. Clicking that link helps you support this channel and also get you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist to see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't fit in with your first therapist, and that's common, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without the stress of insurance or who's in your network or anything like that. I'm a big proponent of therapy, and anybody that knows me can attest to the difference that it's made in my life the past couple years, and I recommend this program to anybody. So if you're struggling, please consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/alley. That's betterhelp.com/alley for 10% off your first month. And we want to thank BetterHelp for supporting our podcast. All right, let's get into the recommendations. First up, we're going to talk about my recommendation for Jake. Just released. I think it just came out end of October? October 27th, yeah.
Yeah.
On Netflix, had that thing where it was a brief run in theaters so it can get award nominations and stuff like that.
It was in theaters, select theaters type thing?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. If you release it, I think it's for 3 weeks in New York and LA, then it can be nominated for awards.
Like
Rules
a lot
are
of people, so stupid.
Yeah, they are. Well, we were just talking about the Game Awards. The Oscars are no better.
Yeah.
So there's a weird thing that movies will do, like New York and LA, and every year for Best Picture, there's a movie that I've never even heard of that's nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the way they do it is it gets all the end of the year nominations, and it had a limited release in New York and LA. Sometimes they'll put it out at like festivals like Venice or Cannes or something like that. And then after all the nominations come out, then they'll put it into wide release at theaters because they actually have the money to and the buzz to distribute the film.
Right.
So this wasn't like that. This was Netflix that they want to make it eligible and then put it out on Netflix.
Okay.
Called The Killer, starring Michael Fassbender. And so basically the plot of the movie is Michael Fassbender is a killer.
No, assassin.
Yeah. Well, what do they do famously?
Assassinate.
They kill. They kill.
But a murderer also kills.
Well, he does some straight up killing in this.
Yes.
So he is on a job, going to kill someone, starts out, and it's just him, and great narration, everything like that. The job in the first little bit, no big spoilers here, goes awry, and that's kind of the jumping off point for the movie, is he spends the first, 15 minutes talking about
this is how the job works,
how good he is, how he does this, how everything's perfect, how he's always good at this,
why he takes the job,
and then he immediately fucks up. and
he talks about how he's batting 1,000.
Yeah.
He's doing the best that anybody could ever do,
really building himself up a lot.
Yeah,
and then immediately screws up the first thing we actually see him do.
Yeah, that scene was really well done because it's not built like he's going to mess up. You know, it's kind of built around that you're going to see how callous he is, because it seems like he sets up the reticle to the sight. That's what it's called. through a woman to shoot who he wants.
Oh yeah, so he's in like a empty office space.
Yeah.
It's a WeWork situation.
He's a sniper. He's a sniper.
Right. He's going to shoot the guy from across the street. I think he's in Paris.
Yeah. Oh.
It looks like Paris. He's in Europe, and he looks out and he's going to like kill this guy. And guy's on the top floor of the hotel. He's been sitting there. You see him for like 2 days, just sitting.
Yeah.
And waiting for this guy. Finally gets a shot. The guy has a sex worker that he brings up.
Yeah.
And
you don't know.
Oh, shit.
You don't know. The story doesn't go into it.
All signs point to sex worker. And Jesus Christ.
That was the first time I ever sneezed on this podcast.
Are you sure?
I think so.
You burped while we were testing. Today.
Yeah. But that was intentional. That was not intentional.
You can burp intentionally?
Yeah.
What?
You know, like into the mic, of course.
No. Can you burp on command?
No, I cannot.
Oh, okay.
No. I had a burp and I was like, this is going in the microphone.
Oh, I thought you meant you did it intentionally. Like you could have busted that out anytime you wanted to.
No.
Good.
No.
Don't.
Anyway.
Fuck it. And that's the first time I cursed on the podcast. So
I love that it's in our head now not to swear. But when I swore,
it messes up.
10 minutes ago, I was like, yep, that's the one.
It messes up algorithms.
Yeah. I want to try my best.
So, God damn it. Where were we?
We were talking about he shot.
So he's trying to shoot the guy. There's a woman up there with him. Yes. And then
erotically.
Right when he goes to pull the trigger to shoot the guy, like she gets in front.
She does a spin move that takes the bullet.
Right. So she gets shot and he immediately just goes, shit.
Yeah.
Breaks down the stuff, gets away, and then he deals with the repercussions. He goes back to his house, which is in the Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. Goes in there, immediately finds that his house has been broken into.
Yep, blood everywhere.
He's assuming that something bad has happened to his girlfriend.
So now he goes to the hospital. That's how you find out, he actually has a girlfriend.
He has a girlfriend. Her brother's there talking, and basically her brother says, hey, she knew what she was getting into. She didn't tell them who you were. She didn't tell them where you were, anything like that. So then you find out, all right, this girl's a trooper. So then his next step is, all right, I'm going to find these people. I'm going to find out who was sent here to do that. And then it kind of jumps around. It's a real globe hopping thing from there. From the Dominican, he has to go to New Orleans to find his contact, the guy that runs or gives all the assassination things.
The first thing that he does is he finds the taxi driver that brought them to the house. And from the taxi driver, he gets the killers. And from the killers, he gets
what they look like, essentially.
He gets what they look like, so he knows who to kill. And then he also knows to kill his fixer because he's like, that's a person that is involved in this. But he also wants to track down the client, the reason why he was in France to kill somebody.
Right. So not the guy. He doesn't want to track down the person he was going to kill.
No. That guy's out of the picture now. He doesn't care about that
They have an offhand comment where it's just like, oh, they're upping security and everything like that, and it'd be too weird if something happened to him now.
Yeah.
So he wants to find the guy who basically... The thing is, after he messed up, the client who initially hired him through the broker says, the broker says, what do you want to do with this? For an extra $100,000, we can make this go away. And by that, he means we're going to kill Michael Fassbender. And we're calling him Michael Fassbender. I know we have a bad habit of referring to people in movies just as their actor names. I'm horrible at it.
Yeah.
And I'll even do it with people that aren't that person, but reminds me of that person for some reason. But he's never named.
No
in
name.
This. He's the killer, and this is actually based on a graphic novel series, and he's never named until late in that too. So that's the whole thing. He's just the killer. So for our sake, we're going to call him Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, of course.
Or young Magneto.
So the beginning was really, really well done. I'm typically not a fan of narration in movies.
I know you weren't.
But when it's incorporated into the film like it is in here, it's done very well. Especially, you could tell Michael Fassbender gives a bit about his performance in a voiceover. So it's actually developing a character really well. It's showing somebody that's very deliberate in what he's doing, and he only does it because he likes killing, because he's good at it.
Right.
And he's kind of lying to himself that he's doing it because he doesn't care.
Right.
You know? And he's telling you, like, I do not give an F word. See? Caught myself.
Good call.
And
Fassbender says fuck, though.
So he's got... So he's got, like, this mantra that he follows where he's like, you know, don't improvise. You know, don't let any opportunity get away from you. And, like, he keeps repeating this mantra. And while he keeps repeating this mantra, you'll see... in the movie, him not following that mantra.
Right.
And I'm like, this is really good narration, where it's an unreliable narrator, and you can watch him go against the very words that he's saying.
Yeah.
Which means you can't really believe anything that he's saying.
See,
and that makes it really fun for me.
I don't think you like narration where it's either...
It's a Band-Aid because they don't know. They're like, oh, the audience is dumb, so we're going to have to tell them what's going on.
There's that narration. There's narration after the fact, which is someone telling you what happened.
Yeah.
And then there's narration like we had in Elite Squad, where it was, like you were saying, a Band-Aid to cover up, because in Elite Squad we talked about they changed the whole movie around.
Yeah.
But narration like this, it's real train of thought narration.
Yes.
You know there are people that don't have inner monologues?
I keep hearing this. I don't understand how you measure that.
It's got to be fake, right?
Yeah, they're lying. They don't put a big old picture box up to their head, and they're like, I don't see any words in there. No.
What is that?
There's no way.
It can't be a thing.
It can't be a thing.
I have an inner monologue.
Everybody has an inner monologue.
I make myself laugh sometimes. I'll just be thinking of something and just go,
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
We're funny people.
I'm a big fan of me. Out of our 999 Spotify subscribers, I'm about 846 of them. Just fake accounts. Same things I use in the Game Awards to piss off fans of Starfield. But yeah, so I recommended this to you because I thought it's a real slow-paced thing. It's a Netflix thing. And I wanted to watch it, and I was like, Jake would like this too.
Yeah.
I know you like
That's something I would watch. I love Michael Fassbender. I think he's a breakout in almost every scene that I've ever seen him in. He does a fantastic job.
And it's you do enjoy a slow burn as well.
Yeah.
And this
Something
one
that's
is
very
a
methodical.
slow burn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And something that's very methodical, but also goes off the rails in a way that, you're not expecting, or the character isn't even expecting. So the movie has to progress from there. And since he's a methodical guy, the plot still plays out that way.
Right.
I really enjoy shit like that.
Yeah.
So
there's before we get into the rest of the movie, what do you give it in the 1 out of 3?
I'm giving it a hearty 2.
Again, a hearty 2.
Again, a hearty 2.
Why are you so anti-3 lately?
Because I'm thinking about 3s, and 3s are something that really stick with me.
Right.
Something that makes me wake up and be like, I'm still thinking about that thing. What
was the last thing you gave a 3 to?
I can't remember. I don't know.
Must have stuck with you.
But it's also something that I wouldn't really want to see again.
I think you gave the Rolling Stones a 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd listen to that again.
It's a good
Absolutely.
record. Yeah.
But The Killer, I probably won't see it again. I might see it again if a friend's like, hey, The Killer, I haven't seen that. I'd be like, oh, cool. It's a good movie. Let's watch it. But beyond a masterpiece, I really don't think it is, especially with David Fincher's other movie. Movies.
Oh, I was going to say, did he have another one out?
I ran out of breath.
There you go.
At the end of S.
But Fincher, just as a director, he's got a very, kind of distinct thing that he goes for, and most of his movies have the same. It's
also
probably
has a Smiths soundtrack, which I'm like, oh, double thumbs up, good job.
I thought it did. Oh, you're talking like record drops. Yeah, because the music was by, I want to say Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Oh, okay.
Did
Sweet.
the music. Yeah, they're good
was
at
good.
stuff like this.
Yeah.
I think they did fucking The Social Network as well, which was
Reznor really-
another David Fincher thing.
He segued into soundtrack, and he's incredible.
Yeah, well, if you don't have to scream anymore, like his voice has got to be shot after a couple decades of screaming.
I know it's not, because he was in Twin Peaks: The Return for a performance, and it was so good.
Was
Yeah.
he? Mm-hmm. What was he singing?
He was singing an original song,
Well, yeah, most of his songs are original songs. He's a singer.
like for Twin Peaks.
Oh.
You donkey.
What is it? Backwards?
No, it's beautiful, though.
Fucking David Lynch.
It's an amazing movie. It's
Regardless.
episode 8. He's in the greatest episode, too.
I'm not watching.
And he
Twin
makes
Peaks
that
the
episode
return.
amazing.
No,
Yes.
disagree. Anyway, moving forward. So this movie kind of goes from there into 3 parts. It's him finding the broker, and then finding the 2 killers that messed up his girlfriend,
Yep.
and then finding the client.
Yep.
Finding the broker, great scene, because he shows how he's going to get into the broker's office. He obviously has a bunch of security camera and everything like that.
He gets lucky a lot. That's
That's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So he does make it seem, when you were talking about having an unreliable narrator, I think what I like most about this movie, and it's got to be intentional, is from the jump, he's always talking like, I'm good at my job. I do this. And he does show, he's got a great house in the Dominican Republic. So he's made a lot of money doing this.
Yeah.
He has like little tips. Like his main tip is dress up like a German tourist.
Yeah.
Because
nobody wants to talk to you. Yeah.
Genius. Checks out. Like I would do the same thing too.
Yeah.
But he has that narration where it's going counter to what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because he says, we got to do this, we got to do this. And that juxtaposition works really well.
Yeah.
So he does get into the broker's office, has a recycling bin, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go up there dressed up like a recycling guy. He counts how long it takes for the door to automatically close. He FedExes himself something there, so he knows the FedEx guy is going to go into this office.
Yeah.
And he obviously knows the broker. He knows her or his receptionist. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he walks in the door, they're both like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was supposed to be dead.
But another good thing about that scene is, like, he shoots him in the chest.
With a nail gun.
Nail gun.
Yeah.
And he's like...
he does the Sherlock math in his head.
Yeah. He's like, with your build, you got about, like, 2 minutes, and I could call the cops. And he, like, dies in 30 seconds, and he's like, damn it! I was like, I love this type of stuff where it's a guy who's like, I am so good at my job. Yeah. And he's like, darn it! So there's a lot of darn it that he does. And I'm like, this is good.
Yeah.
So... like, as far as this movie goes, it is really, 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 really good. Mm-hmm. The Fassbender creates a character that's wonderful to watch.
Right.
A guy who allows others to talk themselves into their own deceit. So
that's a scene when he finds one of the killers, played beautifully by Tilda Swinton.
Amazing.
Who just shows up out of nowhere.
But of course, it's amazing because Tilda Swinton is so amazing.
So he meets her at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Or not meets her. She's eating dinner and like knows
confronts
all the people. He just sits down next to her and she's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like
he shows the gun real quick and puts it underneath.
Whenever he walks into a room, everyone's just like, ah, shit. Yeah. Like, this guy is here. That's not good for us.
Yeah. And she just keeps talking, keeps asking him questions, and he just stares at her, and she just keeps talking and talking and talking. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Right. So it's a conversation between two contract killers, and it's nice that they kind of end up talking shop, like, a little bit. Like, the way two people that work in the same industry would only get that. Like, when you meet other people that have worked in restaurants, there's kind of like an unspoken bond immediately. And I'm sure it's like that. I'm sure when pilots talk to each other, they can do that sort of shit too. Yeah. But it's interesting seeing it between two people that kill people for a living. And it's really different from the previous assassin that he takes down, who's this big friggin' Dave Bautista-like guy.
A muscle guy.
Big hulking guy that lives outside of St. Pete, Florida.
Yeah.
And they just get into a knockdown, drag-out brawl.
Another one where he drugs the dog so that the dog won't bark.
Yeah, gives the dog some sleeping medicine and some hamburger.
Goes real slow so that he can get into the bedroom while the guy's taking a shower. And then the guy just bursts out and pushes him right into a wall, throws him like a good 6 feet into a wall.
Just everything goes horribly awry immediately.
So funny.
Yeah.
Just that way. And that's a really well-shot fight scene.
Yeah.
Because of the whole time, I'm like, that had to... that hurts.
It's one of those fight scenes that has weight to it.
Yes.
Like when he goes through into a wall and it makes that little indentation on the drywall, you're just like, oh, fuck.
The weighty punches where his head is just right in the open and he's on the ground and the guy just reels up and punches him. You're like, that would... Yeah.
That fight immediately reminded me of is the scene in The Princess Bride when Wesley's fighting Andre the Giant. And he's like, it's just one guy that's completely physically outmatched. Just doing like the double-handed hit. Like maybe if I hit him with two hands at the same time.
That's called the double axe handle.
Yeah, exactly. Just shit like that. Loved it. And then the scene at the very end. So we can go full spoilers for this. It's on Netflix. If you want to watch it, do it. It's not going to change your life if you know the story. And it's not going to be a less enjoyable.
That's what I'm saying. It's not something that... The story's not going to change anything.
There's not a big twist.
It's an action movie at the very heart of it, but it's a very clever and fun action movie.
Yeah. And so after he confronts Tilda Swinton, then he finds out who the client is. Client's a billionaire, lives in Chicago. Like he finds out this guy. And what's funny is when he's tracking down the billionaire, it just goes to show when he's dealing with the other assassins and other people like that, when he's dealing with Tilda Swinton, when he's dealing with the giant fighter guy, and when he's dealing with the broker, all those mess up. But when he's dealing with just a billionaire who has this air, and Michael Fassbender talks about this, like he thinks he's invincible because of his money, he's the easiest person to get to.
Yeah.
Like it takes him no time. He's like, oh, this guy goes to announces publicly he just bought this penthouse.
Yeah.
He's like, great, I know where he is. And he's like, okay, he goes to this gym because he has a vanity license plate, so he knows what his car is.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes to this gym, he goes to the gym, gets a free trial, gets a key fob, buys a duplicator on Amazon.
$60 off of Amazon.
Has it delivered, duplicates the guy's thing. It's like, wow, now you're in this guy's house. And he shows up in the guy's house to basically be like, I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
Are you done with our business? Like,
Yeah. I don't know why he didn't kill him.
So he doesn't kill him at the end, and I did like the whole thing where he's just like, you see how easily I can get to you.
I don't like it. He should have killed him.
He should have.
Why didn't he kill the most powerful one out of all of them? The whole reason that any of this happened was because of that guy.
I think the point behind that was that guy dying is the only one that's going to cause him trouble. Because when he kills the broker's secretary, which was kind of sad. Like, she knew she was going to die.
No, he did her a courtesy.
Right, because she said, you know, you can't have me disappear. I've got children. I've got a life insurance policy. I can't just disappear. They'll never pay out. So he is in her house, and he snaps her neck perfectly at the top of the staircase. She falls down, so it's going to look like an accident.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh.
No,
like,
I'm not like, oh, what a murderer.
You just killed that lady,
Yeah.
but nice. Like, he's got a little bit of a
they're
heart.
showing that he's got a heart, and that's kind of like
The other guy is in a fucking dumpster in the back of his van that he rented.
Yeah, he definitely cut his head off and threw it into the river.
For sure,
Yeah.
that guy.
It was that bucket was his head.
It was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, that's
So
things disappear.
But like that was a good play on the audience. Was like the scene that makes you want to say like what a good guy he is like
Him
he
murdering
murdered that
mother?
innocent woman in a way where her family would benefit.
Still gets a life insurance
It's
policy.
like what a good
Well, she's gotta
what a good
die.
guy.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, you're still like, fuck this guy. He's
Yeah.
a bad man,
And
he's not a good guy.
That billionaire has to live the rest of his life. He's like, oh, wow, I can be gotten quickly.
That's not what's going to happen.
I
But that's my
understand.
cynical viewpoint. But also the thing that I backed away from the movie being like, you know, that's not a good guy. Michael Fassbender was never a good guy in this situation.
He's referred to as the killer.
Yeah,
He's
not doing a good thing. Vengeance isn't a good thing.
He's not a John Wick type.
It's not going to change anything. It was a play on John Wick, that's for sure. And I swear to you it is, because it even has the moment where he just goes out into his property and digs out a chest to relive.
God, I got to get a chest full of
that
guns.
retirement. Yeah.
And just bury it somewhere. Or a chest full of something. Like just something under cement. We can
Just
put something
something?
down here.
Peanuts?
Yeah. The peanuts have gotten awry. There was 2 mice in there earlier.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
The dog was not happy about it.
Oh, poor buddy.
So yeah, I really like this. I was watching this movie in my car. The kid was at play practice, so I had some time to kill. So I was watching part of it in my car just on my phone. And it got to a scene where Michael Fassbender is doing a stakeout in the car, and he's got the stakeout look where he's like ball cap, sunglasses, just sitting in a running car, trying to look inconspicuous. And I realized as people were walking by this street in a small town in rural Virginia, there's a guy sitting in a baseball cap and sunglasses looking at a screen of a guy sitting in a car wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses watching the movie.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get tips on like how to do this. It was a very weird thing to
On
be
the
doing.
fly tips. Like you
Yeah.
YouTubed it while you were in the situation.
Like, how
instead
is-
of studying.
How was Michael Fassbender? It's exactly like that. Like when you need to like fix something under your sink and you're watching the YouTube video that's showing you how
while
to
you're
do
doing it. Instead of just actually.
That was just me stalking someone out in the mountains of Virginia. It's a bad look. So yeah, The Killer is available on Netflix. Everyone should go watch it.
Yeah, definitely watch it.
Wicked good movie. Jake gives it a hearty 2.
Hearty 2.
So let's get into Jake's recommendation for me.
Yes, sir.
Which was the 1985 Canadian art film Crime Wave.
Yes, sir.
Not to be confused with the other movie Crime Wave,
That came out the same year.
starring Bruce Campbell, directed
Yeah.
by Sam Raimi, and written by the Coen brothers.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't...
No.
I wanted to watch... Side note, I wanted to watch that Crime Wave. I didn't, out of spite, because you should have picked it. It looks good.
No.
You picked this movie.
I picked this movie.
Sell us on this movie, Jacob.
So I watched this movie recently, like 2 weeks ago, I guess. Now, and it was.
So this isn't a cult favorite of yours? This
was super recently.
This has the stink of something that Jake has liked for a long time on it.
become This is a 3 for me. This is an incredible film.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted you to watch it is because, like, I had my next game already prepared for you.
Yeah.
But when I woke up that morning, I could only think about this movie.
Huh.
You know?
So that's why you said your 3s are haunting you.
Yeah. Like, I can't stop thinking about this movie because it's wild to me that I've never heard of it, that it's something that other people haven't heard about, that it's a cult movie that people just... I can't see why it's not in the zeitgeist when it's so specific to a guy like me, and there's literally thousands of us out there. So there's got to be more people talking about it. And you could watch it on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
It's their little thing, Freevee.
Yeah, and there's also Freevee.
Well, yeah. Freevee's owned by
Freevee.
Amazon.
Right.
So, like, you have to watch some ads for it, but it's just like they put it out with... it's the same thing they put Jury Duty out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nice. Good for Amazon.
But it was... it was just captivating to me, like how different it was, how funny it was, how it was shot to make it so eerie sometimes. It felt kind of like a nightmare every once in a while watching this film. And I just backed away being like, what an incredible experience that I just had.
You're giving a lot of praise for a movie that no one's heard of.
Yes.
If you hadn't heard of this movie
Me neither.
until 2 weeks ago.
I watched it with my buddy.
That means now there are 4 people that have heard of this movie.
Yes, I watched it with my buddy, and my buddy got it from his Cinefreaks message boards.
Huh.
That only one other person knew about it, and he's like, "You and me have a lot in common. You should watch this movie." So he did, and he was like, "Wow, this movie's incredible."
All right. So what's the plot?
I would say if I could sum up the plot quickly,
I'm waiting.
I would say a writer moves into the attic of a garage of a little girl, and the little girl becomes fascinated.
And her family. It's not just a little girl that lives there.
And the little girl becomes fascinated with the writing process for films, specifically true color crime films. And the more... This is how you learn about Steve, the writer, from her point of view. She's the narrator. And she would talk about him and his experience with writing, and she would also say, this is how he written the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then it would go into the beginning of Crime Wave, the movie that he's trying to write.
Right.
And the beginning is always very similar, with a narrator that's over enthusiastic about what's going on, whether it's music or it's selling homes or it's just the craziest thing you can think of.
Right.
And then she'd be like, and this is how it ends. And then you just get a weird ending of it where a guy smashes his guitar and he's like, hey man, that cost $50. And the guy just turns around and just strangles him with the guitar strings. And you're like, I don't know how to write the middle. So it's all about this guy going crazy because he can write a beginning, he can write an ending, but he can't write the middle.
So he throws out the pages, and that's kind of the device that they...
That's how she gets the pages.
Right.
That's how
she reads it, and then we
writes
see them act it out with other people.
And then Steve sees that she's picking it out of the garbage, so Steve just kind of starts leaving it on top of the garbage for her to read.
So
and then they develop a friendship out of it.
I don't know how to say this guy's last name.
Me either. Paizz.
Z-S.
Z-S. Paizz.
Paizz.
I'm sorry,
John
buddy.
Paizs. Let's call him John Paizs.
John, you did an incredible job, sir.
So
I'm sorry,
he wrote, directed, produced, starred in, and he did the cinematography and the editing.
And the props.
So it's a one-man show.
Yes.
It's meant to look like a 1950s...
Like, it's supposed to have that feeling. Yeah.
Well, almost...
that propagandish type of like the perfect family home,
like the duck and cover thing, where it's just
Leave It to Beaver style,
right?
Yeah.
But it's more like just the educational films, where it's like, this is what it's like growing up in the American suburbs, like that kind of obnoxious voice.
Yeah, a beautiful suburban life,
right?
Picturesque,
and they always refer to the hero as being like the man from up north.
Yeah, and just then from the north.
Yeah, because the guy's Canadian. He's writing this.
The day that I was coming to the podcast last week, I woke up to he had a dream, and I was like, I have to talk about this movie so much more. I cannot believe how much this has infected me.
So I guess it's a comedy.
It has comedy in it.
Yes,
it has good comedy in it.
It has some weird surrealist things. So the middle of this, I think people should. if you have any interest in the movie, it's for free.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those things where I'm going to say,
if you're into cult films, if you like stuff that's weird.
well, you can't just say if you're into cult films.
I would
if you're
say
into
if you like
weird
stuff,
shit,
if you're into auteurs that have a distinct view, and I'm talking anywhere from like Tommy Wiseau's The Room to the I don't know, somebody that's really good at making movies, but it's all his vision. David Lynch. So if you like stuff like that, you would probably get a good kick out of this movie.
yeah, and I think it's kind of got that. I mean, it was made in the 80s in Canada. It's got kind of that SCTV kind of early Kids in the Hall-ish Canadian sense of humor.
One of the funny things is they're him and the little girl are messing around, having a little fun time, and they start throwing plates back and forth, and they just start throwing dozens and dozens of plates to the point where they're blowing fire extinguishers back and forth at each other.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah, and it's like got little bits like that, and the story progresses to the point where the girl sees a thing for screenwriting, and she's like, "Hey, you have to go. You have to go meet this guy," and that guy's a freak serial killer.
And isn't that guy like the creepiest dude you've ever seen?
Terrifying.
How is he not in more films as the creepiest guy?
I have no idea.
It's insane to me that guy's not big as being the creepiest man you've ever seen.
He's a very
Because
scary
he
man.
sells scary like perfectly.
Terrifying and very nice, and just a big face. Just
a big face.
A big face is a scary thing.
That goes from like a worried face to like terrifying.
Yeah, if you could look
And
scary
stuck in-
and happy at the same time,
Yes.
that's a
psychopath.
Yes.
And if you're an actor that does that, I hope you're either a good actor
Yeah.
or you just caught a psychopath's good acting moment before jail.
So this movie apparently it got kind of a like all cult. I guess it's kind of the definition of a cult film. It wasn't really appreciated when it came out.
Yeah.
And then it kind of picked up steam.
So apparently when this movie came out in 1985, it had one viewing at a movie theater. And during its viewing, the power went out halfway through the viewing.
Yes.
And then they just never went back.
Yes.
They just never continued.
Well,
they never reset.
It was a guy from the Globe and Mail in Canada put this as one of the 23 best Canadian comedy films ever made.
That's a great. I have no idea what would be number one.
I don't know.
Porky's.
I guess that's Canadian, yeah.
I just know that from Shoresy
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah. Shoresy should be on there.
Highest grossing comedy.
So yeah, I think it was fun. For me, this is it's a week 2.
Okay.
And I think
Cool.
you would know that it's a week 2 because it does have
No, I expected 1.
it commits to the bit, and that's something that I've always
Yes.
said. If you have a premise and you stick to it, whatever it is,
Yes.
it's the old quote from Abe Lincoln: "Whatever you are, be a good one."
Like,
this
the-
guy, it was one dude. What was the fucking thing we watched that was like this? Where it was one guy doing it.
I have no clue what you're talking about, bud. I want to tell you my favorite.
Oh, Primer.
Yes.
Where it's just one
Primer
guy-
is a good example of this too.
Not in the way that this is, but Primer
Yeah.
was just like this guy.
One
had
person has an idea.
and he fucking does this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
So it was a lot like Primer. I think Primer was a better movie. I enjoyed Primer a lot more.
Yeah, Primer's much more up your alley, I'm sure.
And absolutely, I know comedy is a lot more subjective than I would say horror or suspense movies, because there are general things that are always scary or unsettling. There are very few things that are always funny.
You know what?
And even with funny, like timing can be a little bit different. The way it's shot, being able to get the frame of reference to what people are, making the jokes about, so why something should be funny. I mean, babies find things scary and babies find things funny. But when you're an adult, the same things that have scared you as a baby, loud noises, physical distress and shit like that, it's still scary as an adult.
Yeah.
Jingling keys aren't as funny when you're an adult because everyone has different ways of making themselves happy. So comedy, I think, is harder to do for a broad audience. Something that we'll get into for my recommendation for you for next week.
Okay.
Because I love a good broad comedy, and it's an art form that's been lacking over the past couple years.
These broads and their comedy.
Stop it.
Yeah, I got you,
know
buddy. I heard you, buddy, loud and clear.
So, yeah, I think it was fun. I think it's worth checking out. I think it's definitely one of those movies that people that like movies would love to tell people about this movie.
I think it's a work of art. I think it's
For sure.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I think I think this guy poured his heart and soul into it. And I think he got exactly what he wanted out of it. One of the big things is he finds inspiration in the streetlight, which is something like you watch as the streetlight turns on, and then you hear his typewriter going.
Yeah, you
which
have
means
that
like
flicking,
that's when
like
he gets it. Yeah, until the end of the movie where there's a car accident and he gets his head stuck in a streetlight.
Right.
He becomes his own inspiration for his work. That's why he's written into his work. It's art. It's self-referential. It's meta. It's a spiral going both up and down. It's saying something about the world that he's in and also something very personal.
It's an Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail.
It's not an Ouroboros because that's only one direction. This is something that's trying to go both.
All right.
This is something that's trying to say something about everything that's around you and something that's very personal to himself.
Go deep on this fucking weird Canadian
I'm telling
movie,
you,
man.
I woke up freaked out about this movie.
Really?
Yes, it was so impactful to me. I loved it. It meant so much to me what this guy created.
I'm gonna have to. Jesus Christ, you're gonna make me want to rewatch this now
because there's such crazy things. One of the coolest things is a costume party that happens.
Yeah,
where,
random.
Yeah, well, yeah, they invite him out because he's somebody that sees himself as an outcast. So
and he doesn't
himself.
talk throughout the whole movie either.
He doesn't talk.
Yeah.
People talk for him. The girl talks for him in the narration. But they invite him out, and he goes because he's a nice guy. He does stuff, and you could tell he goes as the mom and dad go as Native Americans. The girl goes as a fairy, and he goes as a suicide bomber.
Yeah,
and he comes in very weary with his hand on the button for the
detonator.
Like you could tell that he's on edge like a suicide bomber, and he's like that's being personal to him, and everybody being like, I get what you're going for and I love it, and I am very accepting of who you are. And it's like, this is the broad, you can see everybody is enjoying being who they want to be, and we see you and it's different, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I was so crazy about this movie, man. Yeah, there was a lot going on, and it really broke something in me. I think I started to understand art. Kind of want to go to college.
Bit late in the game for that.
I don't know. I think it's time to go to art college.
Well, if you have an idea, I've been working on editing, so I'll edit your dumb fucking movie whatever you come up with.
I have a great idea for a movie.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, buddy.
So what this reminded me of is there's a I don't know, like I would say a golden age of Adult Swim. That was like the mid 2000s-ish time when you have the Venture Brothers and stuff. And I know you're an Adult Swim guy.
That influential age.
One of my favorite things.
Adult Swim was kicking up this pretty cool sense of humor.
And one of the things that Adult Swim did, and I'm sure some of the guys from Adult Swim have seen movies like this. Like you could tell that early days things, and something I'm going to talk about in my recommendation for you as well. You can see where comedians picked up on. So sometimes it's really hard for me to go back to what. If I like something, sometimes I won't like the thing that it's referencing as much because I already like where it is, not so much where it came from. I can see that with, like, I saw Monty Python before I saw a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
So comedies that were referencing Monty Python, I had already seen it because my dad, I was probably too young when my dad started showing me Monty Python.
You take it from your point of view and consume it as that media. Where
it's like kids today don't like going back and playing original Mario if they've been playing Fortnite and shit.
But that's where I come from. Is there's a way to enjoy something if you allow yourself to enjoy it.
Yeah,
I don't think you have to put yourself in any type of mindset other than you can't compare it to something other than the experience that you're having then.
Right.
What I do is I use like stuff that I'm watching. Like my old 70s movies that I like that are inspirations for the current media that I enjoyed today is I use what I've seen in the present as reference to put words to what I'm seeing for the 70s movies that I'm watching and enjoying.
That makes sense.
You know, so that way I don't want to say, like, I've seen this but better because I don't believe in better when it comes to art. I believe there's different, you know.
That's fair.
So, like with video games, like Super Mario Brothers 1 and Super Mario World, like I just love Super Mario World more because it's the type of game that I would want. But it doesn't mean that I don't love Super Mario Brothers less.
Right, but I'm saying that if and I think we talked about this when I was talking about Skyrim. Like I didn't go back and I went back and played what's the one before Skyrim? Oblivion.
Yeah,
and it's just I couldn't go backwards if I didn't have that. If I didn't already have that base that it was built on.
Exactly what
it's
I'm
hard for me to go back
to
and enjoy that.
And like Morrowind,
that's just me personally. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just me personally. I have a hard time.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like that's a great way to look at it because now you can enjoy Oblivion in a different way, where you probably wouldn't have enjoyed it if you didn't have the context of your understanding of Skyrim.
Right.
You know, like Morrowind is a game that I really love. Morrowind was before Oblivion.
3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that one is my favorite one. But that's just because that game is very, very, very creative with its storytelling. I think it's the last time that Bethesda really tried something with the approach of you are the one, you are the chosen one, where the Morrowind was, this is a big tangent, but Morrowind was trying something completely different with what the chosen one is, and they do a great job with the bad guy. I think that game is the most incredible one.
Right.
Just because of the character that you
and it might be, but I'm just saying for me personally, it's hard to go back.
I think that you could go back, especially now because there's great mods out there for Oblivion.
I'm not going to.
I mean, for Morrowind, and you will be like, "Wow, what a good job, game."
So this reminded me of 2 things on Adult Swim. One of the things, it was one of my favorite things Adult Swim ever put out, and I watch it at least once a year. Was the amazing Too Many Cooks?
Yeah, Too Many Cooks.
Where it's just like you're buying into something. But then there was another one that came out after Too Many Cooks, unedited footage of a bear. Did you ever watch that?
No.
We'll watch it after this. It's so fucking weird. It came on when it aired. It was just one of those things where, like, if you had DirecTV or something like that, it popped up and it was just unedited footage of a bear.
Yeah.
And it was 10 minutes long. And so you sit down and you're like, oh, I'm going to watch unedited footage of a bear.
Yeah.
I think this came out in 2013 or something like that, 2013, 14.
But it wasn't that, was it?
No, and then it cuts to, it's meant to be watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because then it pops to an ad for like a generic allergy medicine or something like that.
Oh.
And it's like the skip ad button on the bottom and everything. And then it just goes into this, I don't know how to describe it other than 9 minutes of terror. Like genuinely not funny.
Yeah.
Genuinely just fucking horrifying.
It's a lot of...
And then it ends. And I was just like, this is on Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, labeled as unedited footage of a bear.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's stuck with it. And I'll show it to you after this. And then when you see it, you'll be like, oh, I get the middle of this movie was like people that made unedited footage of a bear. I'm sure have seen this. So where it's just like horror lumped in. And it's just like, no, it's not. There's not going to be too much plot involved in this. There's not going to be too much reason. It's heavy. You can draw. There's a narrative, and you can draw what it means in a greater sense. But we're just going to show you something and just be like, fucking, what do you think about this?
To me, that's what art is to me. It's you're trying to push the creative, the medium that you've chosen for your creativity.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, video is a lot of people just showing a play that you've recorded where there's boundaries to be pushed, you know, like we were pushing boundaries with paintings that people don't really understand, you know, because that's old hat and that's just a part of society. That's just a part of the zeitgeist. Now we have different ways to explore our creativity, and the pushing of that, the narrative or how you capture the narrative. That stuff is so cool and creative and interesting to me. That Crime Wave was just like, this is a movie about making a movie, but also about being me, but also about where I live, and also about what society has done. That
does come through. I mean, granted, the guy wrote, directed, and starred in it, so it really is a singular vision. And I do enjoy things more. And it's something that we're kind of lacking in, not to just be like, oh, big studio movies are stupid. Because I love the Marvels, and I had a great time at it.
Me too. I love movies, but they're made by committee.
It's something to be said for a singular vision of this guy's fucking doing this thing.
But if somebody sings a beautiful song, and it's just beautiful to me, it doesn't mean that it's no longer beautiful just because 6 billion other people hate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I see something that's so personal and so committed, I just got such a big heart for that type of stuff, man.
That's fine.
So this thing just killed me with how much it vibed.
I'm going to say this. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I have it. I'm glad I have it when I'm trying to paint a comparison of something else. I'm glad I have this on my little What's the thing called where you fucking put? I was trying to make a
Speak and
metaphor.
spell.
No, a thing that artists put like paint on.
A palette.
Palette. Yeah, I'm glad I have this on my palette.
Perfect.
I had a metaphor about making metaphors, and I fucked the metaphor up. God damn.
That's how we go, buddy.
Late night podcast. All right. Well, yeah, so that's available to watch on Freevee on Amazon, and The Killer is available to watch on Netflix. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show and rate it. And leave a review. Send an email to upyouralleypod@gmail.com if you have some recommendations or you want to chime in on the show or develop a parasocial relationship or whatever the fuck. Just tell me what's going on with you.
You know what we didn't do?
What we did?
We didn't go over the points.
Oh, shit. Fuck.
So now we have to add 2 points to it.
Okay.
Because we're both 2. So our
Jake's
points
got
are
54. I've got 55. So
perfect.
2 more. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
that's
we're
easy
at 55,
to fix.
54. Perfect.
Yeah. So let's get into, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at upyouralleypod and TikTok at upyouralleypod and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's get into what we're going to be getting into next week. Jake, what do you got for me?
All right, buddy. Back to schedule. One more video game.
Okay.
All right? This is the last video game for a long time because
All
I've
right.
been giving you a lot of video games.
Yeah, that's fine.
But this one is one of my personal favorites. Full disclosure, I know the writer for this video game. It re-released on Switch recently.
You know Shigeru Miyamoto?
I know Shigeru Miyamoto.
That's a fun thing. I want to do this. Fun thought experiment I came up with. Just completely side tangent.
Go ahead.
All right. So a new game, to play in real life. It's called One Away from Famous. So if you had to look at someone in your phone book and then call one person in that phone book, and then they have the number in their phone book, who's the most famous person do you think you could get to? So, for instance, I would call you if I thought you would have, let's say, Bradley Cooper's phone number. I could say, I can get to Bradley Cooper because I have Jake's number. Jake has this guy's number.
I see. Yeah.
How far do you think you could get? Who's the most famous person? Something to think about. Write in to us. Tell us who you think you could get to. Because I know mine, and I think it's...
What's yours?
It's pretty good.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to say. I'll tell you off the air, but I think this is a fun... It's a new game I want to get people to think.
I think I get to somebody pretty powerful in the video games industry.
And that's what I'm thinking. Because you have a friend who writes
I'm thinking
video
I'm
games.
1 to 2 phone calls away from talking to
it's just
somebody.
one. It's
just one video call?
You have someone in your phone book, and they have this person in their phone.
I can talk to somebody that makes the decision on what video games should be made.
Really?
Yeah.
So it is Shigeru Miyamoto.
So it is Shigeru Miyamoto.
Tell me you did a great job with Wonder. Send him a text.
Full disclosure, she's not asking me to promote it or anything.
Okay.
So, but it is one of my favorite games. I liked it before I met her.
Okay.
It's called The Outer Wilds. I suggest playing it on PS5, but it is out on Switch recently.
Okay.
Hi, Kellogg. I know you're listening.
This has popped up on my recommendations to download.
Yes. This is one of my favorite games. It became one of my favorite games quick.
Yeah.
And I would like for you to play it.
The Outer Wilds on PlayStation. I can get it on PlayStation?
Yep. You can get it on PlayStation.
Perfect.
Switch. PC. Xbox.
2019 action-adventure game developed by Mobius Digital. Published in 2019. Yeah. Oh, this looks rad.
Yep.
Ooh, I like the art style.
It's a wonderful, wonderful video game. But this is it. I've given you a lot of video games to play.
Okay.
So we'll take a break after this one.
No, all right, cool. So I'm going to play that. Jake, I have a film that I watched, and when I was talking about broad comedies, I love it. I love it, and this plays into what we were talking about with people that I get the reference for, and these are kids that are younger than me, and you know how I feel about the youth. I do not like them.
I love them.
By and large, I think they're terrible people.
All those kids getting rizzed up, I just love them.
Yep, go for it. So, I know also you're not a big SNL guy.
No.
So, in the past, I think they started
I will tell you this. That George Washington sketch is very, very funny.
With Nate Bargatze?
Yes.
Nate Bargatze's fucking so perfect for SNL.
He deadpanned so well.
I think that's
such
just
an
how
incredible
he is.
presence.
I think he was just scared to be on TV.
Nate Bargatze is so good.
He's one of the best comics working.
Yes.
So, there are 3 guys excuse me, on the show. They had a sketch group called Please Don't Destroy. They do just kind of filmed sketches, kind of like what
They took over the Lonely Island
basically,
thing.
yeah. They were kind of the new Lonely Island guys.
Yeah.
They have a movie that's out on Peacock called Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain.
Okay.
It's just a classic broad comedy. They're three friends. They have to go find a treasure, or like one of them feels their friendship's breaking up, so they go and do, because it's one of those things. Guys are getting old. It's a very cliche premise for a movie.
Yeah.
And so I started watching it. I watched the first 4 minutes. And in this movie, you will see in the first 4 minutes, there is someone who is in this movie, and just by their sheer presence in this movie, justified its existence to me. So I'm like, this person who is not in a lot of movies.
Okay.
I can't think of any movies off the top of my head that actually, they were in the Weird Al movie and a cameo. But the fact that they were in this movie, I was like, this justifies this movie's existence.
Okay.
And laugh out loud funny.
Michael Richards?
No.
From UHF?
No. No, not the Weird Al movie. The Weird Al movie, the Daniel Radcliffe Weird Al movie. No, Conan O'Brien's in it.
Oh, beautiful.
And I think Conan O'Brien is one of the funniest people that's ever walked on the planet.
Yeah.
As far as not like joke writing, not acting, but just like having a general sense of what's funny and doing whatever is necessary.
Conan O'Brien abroad is amazing.
Yes. Anything, and he's one of those people where he's said in interviews before, and I can go into this next week as well. He's always said, whatever's the funniest thing, that wins. He doesn't care if he wrote it. He doesn't care if someone else wrote it. He's like, whatever's the funniest, that's what he does. And he talk about committing to a bit. No one's better than Conan. Mm-hmm. He shows up in this movie, and I'm like, fucking great.
Cool.
So, and it was laugh out loud funny. Like, I was dying laughing. It's not going to change your world. It's not going to be like, this is groundbreaking. This is new for comedy.
I love a good comedy.
I think it's a return to form for just a funny movie. There's no stakes. It's not trying to teach you a lesson. It's just funny.
Okay.
So I can't recommend it enough. Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain. That's available on Peacock. I am going to play The Outer Wilds on my PlayStation. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Jake, thanks for coming over. Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.